Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV, where we review movies, television series, and do celebrity legal news. Also, join me for my pop culture chats. If you'd like to support the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. My Venmo and Cash App is below. Thank you so much, and let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV, where we review movies, television series, and incidents in pop culture. Listen, just to tell y'all where I live at, it is hotter than the devil's toenail. So you should hear a fan whirling back there. If it's too loud, I do apologize. But baby, they say here it is 92 degrees, but it feels like 98. And my poor little air conditioner is barely doing its job. But shout out to it. All right, you see what's on the screen. You know how I do. I go live because sometimes it's easier for me to go live than it is for me to try to do this, record this video. So let me come to the screen. Hello, hello, hello. So we are here today. I'm going to go over just my review and my impressions of Wakanda, Eyes of Wakanda. That is what we're going over, Eyes of Wakanda. So let me share my screen. Also, let me add this, the copyright disclaimer, before I go and try to share my screen. You see it up here on the screen. Copyright disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. So let me share my screen. And here we go. So I have y'all hold on a moment. Sorry about that. I had a call come in. That's not what we needed to do. All right. So we're talking about the Eyes of Wakanda. So visually, it I didn't like the drawings visually. It's something about people having little pea heads like they had. I didn't find that visually pleasing. I wish that they would have just, it's something about this type part of their heads, like if you see right here, like if you see my this part of their heads just seemed too small for me, and visually that wasn't pleasing for me. I just will tell you. I did like the story because each one was a separate story, but they all connected toward the end. I do like that. So each story talked about a particular war dog and their adventures out in the world as a war dog. And we see it starts with the war dog Noni. She goes out and she defeats a former Wakandian. And then we have second war dog that was in the Trojan War. We and he completes his mission. We also have a situation with the third war dog that went to the place where Iron Fist is from. He completed his mission. However, I like the fact that they showed us the different personalities of each war dog, and that I do like the fact that they also showed us like a war dog who didn't realize that their place was a war dog, and that was Noni in the first one. She was trained up as a Dora Milaje, and oh, I'm spoiling. So if you don't want this spoiled, Y'all could go ahead and log off. I apologize. I forgot to tell you that I will be spoiling. There will be spoilers. Child. Let me put this up here real quick. Go ahead and log off now if you don't want to be spoiled. Because, child, I'll forget in a minute. But again, hey, Blue. So I did like that. So we had really four separate war dogs. Well, we had actually three, yeah, five, five war dogs. One, two, the third episode, and then the last episode had a war dog and a war dog in training. But they had different events, and they had different at different time periods in history. Now, they didn't go over how, because basically their job was to make sure that they get the artifacts back. Now, they don't say how the artifacts got lost to the world, except for in the first one. So I'm assuming that particular episode with Noni going back to go get the lion, to unalive the lion and to get the artifacts back. I assume that that's what their job was, and I'm assuming that those particular artifacts are the artifacts that we see that were floating through the world that everybody was trying to retrieve. Um, that's number one. Again, I told you the way these people, way they were drawn. I don't like the little pea heads. I didn't like the little pea heads. Each story within itself was okay. Like I said, each story was a progression in time, a little separate progression in time. I think the better story to me was the first one and the fourth one. And the first story was entitled Into the Lion's Den. So here they are. Episode one was Into the Lion's Den. The second episode was Legends and Lies. The third episode was Lost and Found. And the fourth episode was The Last Panther. So I liked the first episode because, again, it kind of gave you a little glimpse about what war dogs were doing, and again seeing the Dora Milaje, and seeing that there's that they had different jobs, and that sometimes people training for Dora Milajes, that may not be the job that they're best suited for. And you see Noni, she was actually better suited to be a war dog. Fine. They're going back into the world to get the artifacts and stuff like that. Fine. The second episode, I guess they were just talking, about different places that Wakanda was out in history. They weren't really concerned with what was going on in history, but they were concerned about getting these artifacts back, and that's what we see. That the war dogs are out there to go get the artifacts. Now, the fourth episode, uh, I liked it because it was the most interesting one. It talked, it was like a time travel episode, and this time travel episode brought us back to Black Panther, the movie Black Panther. All right. So if you watch that, you'll see the connection and all of this other stuff. Overall, the series, out of 5 stars, it just gets a 3. I think if we if we talk about time travel, I think this whole series is out of time. I think that my opinion about this series is this: it is out of time. This is what they should have done in between finding out that when Chadwick Boseman passed away. This would have been a great filler before they did Wakanda Forever, aka Two Funerals and a Bastard. I think that this series should have been in between that. Uh, Only because I think that that would have given enough time for because this whole series, this whole thing could have been an animated movie. Eyes of Wakanda. Uh, these 4 episodes, they could have added a little bit more stuff, and this would have been a good movie in between. You would have talked about, they would have talked about time, would have had an opportunity to talk about their time travel, and this would have given Marvel some time to find another actor. But we all know what happened. But if they had had this and put it right after Black Panther, so that you could be used to seeing a war dog and what a war dog does and all this other stuff, I think that this would have been better than the Wakanda Forever that we had. Now, I understand and know, don't come on here trying to tell me I understand what happened and them the politics and Disney Plus and all this other stuff. But I do think that as a movie with a little bit better animation as far as animating black, because this looks odd to me, these black people with these little small pea heads. Do black people with little small pea heads exist? Yes, but every black person don't have no little small pea head. You see my noggin. And so this bothered me a little bit. And so because I didn't like how they looked, it kind of, I wasn't really watching. I was watching it, but I didn't like it. I'll come back. I had to rewind it and keep going. Let's see. Blue says the door didn't exist back in those times. They made the door predate the first Panther King. That threw me all the way off. I thought that they already existed. I mean, I thought Black Panther had already existed in this time. He didn't? Now that's real confusing to me. Because they were going to get vibranium and all this. Thank you, Blue. That's interesting. That's interesting. Real interesting. Because you all know that I'm a casual watcher. So if the people who read the comic books and stuff like that, then that's great. They know what they're talking about. I just looked at it, like I said. I found it in the first episode and I found the fourth episode interesting. However, I think that this whole series was out of time. I think that this series should have been the next project after Black Panther. And then again, that would have given, you could have been like 2 years since Black Panther. Then it would have actually given, and then you'd have had another 2 years. So that would have given it like 4 years between Chadwick Boseman's death, that someone could have been replaced. That character could have been replaced, and I think that we could go on. I think for me, and I, like I said, I don't know. I don't know. The ills of the MCU are the ills of the MCU. I think that they did not have a plan after Endgame. And when was this? What was this? Blue? Because I know that the first episode was set like, was it 10 something BC or something like that? Interesting. This is very interesting, Blue. That's very interesting to me. But like I said, this whole series to me was out of time. It was okay, but I will tell you, with people gearing up for Doomsday and all this other stuff, this just seems like cast off stuff that they had that they're just trying to make sure that they get out. which is crazy to me in the first place. Like I said, all of this, the MCU tried to expand too quickly for me. And in doing that, they introduced too many characters and they really did not have a plan for all of these characters. And if you were just going to introduce a character as a standalone situation, I think that like Shang-Chi, I think that Shang-Chi should have been animated. That should have been an animated movie. If you were just going to introduce the character, I think that that character should have been animated. And then if you were going to use that character in live action, then you could have just hired somebody at the time that you were going to use them as for live action. But as far as the movies and stuff like that was concerned, though I enjoyed Shang-Chi, if you were going to introduce some of these things, I think that they could have been animated. And I think a lot of the stuff that was on Disney Plus, if we're talking about Marvel, in my opinion, should have been animated. All that live action stuff, I think all of that just should have been animated. I don't know how much money you would have saved, but I think that they all could have been all these things. Echo could have been animated. I even think Ironheart with Riri Williams. I think that that could have been animated as well. I don't know. I listen, because I couldn't tell you. All I can tell you is what I like and what I don't like about it, and go from there. Like I said, I liked the first episode. I liked the fourth episode. Uh, the second and third episode, they were okay, but the third episode seemed a little too silly to me. That's just me. It just seemed a little too silly to me, and I don't know why Marvel always feels like they have to try to have somebody or somewhere with some comic relief. For War Dogs to be as serious a job as it is, I don't need to see anything comedic, or anything like that. Just go out here and get the job done. Show us the high stakes, and let's get through. The third episode, it didn't make any sense to me. It didn't make any sense for all the technology that you had. You didn't notice that there was an extra person on the ship. Wouldn't the weight of the ship change? And riddle me this: for all that technology from the third one that we saw in that movie, you mean to tell me they didn't have no stealth mode? I mean, they got flying apparatuses and uh, all these different. They didn't have any stealth mode. Come on now. But I digress. I digress. I digress. So, is it something that you can watch? Yeah, it's okay. You'd have to watch it with something else. I guess the only thing that I could tell you is if you would watch this series before you watch Black Panther. I think that that would be a great little binge moment. I'm not recommending Two Funerals and a Child. I didn't like that whole setup. I didn't like that whole movie, and I have not revisited it. But you definitely could watch it with that. Yeah. Hmm. You know, this would I would like the first episode. Yes, I would love that. But this second and this third episode, I really wish that it would have happened a little further in time. I wish they would have jumped up a little further in time because I would have loved to, and they could have had a lot of liberties. You know how like steampunk and how they have all of that. I would have loved to have seen some era in that thing, like maybe in the war, like World War I or World War II. Hell, they could have come to the Civil War. I mean, I just wish they had jumped up a little bit farther moments in time because that would have I think that would have been beautiful with the fourth episode. I like the fourth episode. The fourth episode in this, I like that. How what you've done in the past can affect the future. So I do. I absolutely like. I like that episode. Exactly. I noticed that too. When they said that because I was like, oh, okay. So, because they could have literally showed us the fight scene in the club. So, but the writing has been on the wall, Blue. They have decided what they have decided, and in regards to T'Challa, that they are not invested in T'Challa. They are invested in Toussaint, because again, this series right here, if they would have added maybe two, three, maybe about three or four more sections in it, they could have made this a movie. This movie could have been Eyes of Wakanda instead of Wakanda Forever, and they could have gone through history about this, and that would have given them enough time to be able to find another Black Panther. But that's not what they wanted to do. We see what they wanted to do. We see what the powers that be. It is what it is, and I am just going to leave it at that because they're ain't finna be wasting my breath on something, and I could move on to do something else. But again, if you want to go watch it, it's on Disney Plus. I got Disney Plus because it all came in a Hulu bundle. Uh, I get Hulu, Disney Plus, and HBO Max for one price versus paying separate price. So it's in my bundle. And Disney Plus for me, I like to binge. I truly like to binge my Star Wars stuff versus the Marvel stuff. So I usually will binge that if I'm in one of those bingeable weekends when there's nothing that I want to see on TV, but I can watch. I can rewatch Star Wars all the time. So I can rewatch the movies of Star Wars all the time. So I don't have any issue with that. I mean, I go from episode one into the sequels, all the way to the sequel. I can watch all of that stuff. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Star Wars. We're here to talk about Eyes of Wakanda. Again, I'll give this a 3 out of 5. It is just okay. It is just okay. If you didn't watch it, you wouldn't have really missed anything. It didn't add nor did it take away anything of to me of the lore of Wakanda. It didn't add or it didn't take anything away. Now, if they did this series in an effort like when they do the Black Panther movie, there's going to be some hint to the past. Okay. But like I said, this is a show. This is a show out of time. I think that this should have been a show that, like I said, added a few more episodes, tied them all together, and this should have been a movie in the theaters. This could have been a movie in the theaters, or it could have been the Disney Plus movie, and that could have been the filler movie until they got to Black Panther 2. uh, the original script of what they were going to do with Black Panther 2. And that's all I can see for this. Like I said, uh, watch it once. Like I said, there's really nothing about this series that'll make you come back to it. It's like a one and done. Like I said, unless they go and they are adding some information, or some of these people that have been mentioned in these stories come up. But like I said, they're so far back in history, I don't think that they would come up. The only people that I think that would come up would be on episode 4. I think that the last Panther, whoever she is, because I don't even know who she was. She didn't say her name, so I don't know if she was Shuri. I don't know exactly who she was. So, oh, what'd you say? Oh, goodness. Child. that Star Wars is how I came into all of this. When we start talking about comics and stuff like that and movies and sci-fi, Star Wars was my end. I went to go. That's how old I am. I went to go see Star Wars in the movie theater when it came out. That's how old I was. It was a whole family event. We all went to go see Star Wars. We all fell in love with Chewbacca. We all fell in love. I don't know why we all fell in love with my family. We all fell in love with Darth Vader too. So, but anyway, 3 out of 5 stars. I'll give Eyes of Wakanda. That's number one. Number two, I think that this is a show out of time. I think that this should have been the show between right after Black Panther. That's what I think. And number three, is it something bingeable that you can rewatch and rewatch? No. I think that once you watch this, there's nothing about this series that's going to make you come back. All right. Also, I personally didn't like the animation. I just didn't like the little pea heads. I just don't like the little pea heads. Cause I mean, look how big this. I don't like this. I don't like this. And look at this man right here. I don't like this. I don't like it. I didn't like the little pea head. So, all right, people. We do this every week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video if you care. Have y'all watched Eyes of Wakanda? And if you have, what do you think? Please drop a comment down below. All right, people. Please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you can't stand that I'm over here making these videos. And as always, people, bye-bye.